Okay, welcome back to my channel still. I am Chris, and if you have not subscribed, go ahead and do so, because I'm just getting started. I'm learning how to use this YouTube thing. Sluts and whores and bitches and sluts. Excuse me, does my language offend you? Well, it offended me too, after I went through an assault and had those words and slurs thrown at me. Not only that, but manipulative, emotional, overreactive, attention-seeking, all those things. But the truth is I am an extrovert, and I have always been a fearless person when it comes to trying things. But guess what? Just because I am all those things, being fearless, extroverted, friendly, wanting to explore and experience new things, it doesn't mean I deserve to be taken advantage of. And if that sounds familiar to you, then welcome to this video and the 6 repercussions of being a not perfect victim of sexual assault and harassment and victimization. Because mommies and pappies, all victims and survivors of assaults, aren't wearing white, aren't virgins, aren't, I see this narrative of like, oh, she didn't deserve this. Well, what does that mean? Who does deserve to be assaulted and hurt? Who actually really deserves that? I don't know. To me, you can fight me on this, but I really don't think that is the case. I mean, there's many times repercussions for our actions, meaning like, okay, A plus B equals C, sure, but does that mean that we don't offer healing and help to those who fall under the category of less than perfect? Let's try that. Well, first of all, when I talk about being a not perfect victim, for my own personal story, it's not just that I had to deal with my self-hatred, which is number one on the side effects of being a not perfect victim. Other people in my circle and my life also really turned against me. And it was because people were talking about me behind my back. And this is what's really important to know, is that nobody has the right to take your story and to tell it to anybody else that is not involved immediately in the situation. Because we don't know all the circumstances that lead up to it. So as soon as you open that door and start to discuss someone else's business, everybody's got an opinion about it because you now opened the door to talking about it. So it's really important, if you are a ally to people who have been assaulted, then even if you think you're doing the right thing by going out and talking about it, you're not. You're not. You're making the situation worse. Please, I beg of you to only talk to the people that are necessary to talk to. If a crime has been committed, even more so, you need to just talk to the pertinent people and the law, not a bunch of other people, because people cannot be trusted. I'm not saying that to be a negative Nelly, Nancy, Drew. I am saying that because from personal experience, people who I loved were enraged by the assault that happened to me, and then went out and talked to other people about it, ended up using words that were not the correct words as to what happened. The word rape got through around like nobody's business, and then it came back on me that I had lied when I had never used that word. I had never said that, but unfortunately my story had been spread to a bunch of different people, and they were all making their own judgments about it. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have been given information about someone's trauma, someone's hurt, they've entrusted that to you, do not go and talk to other people about it. No, because it can make the situation worse for the victim, and it really did make it worse for me. So what are we talking about today? These 6 repercussions. What do they look like? Well, first on our list is that self-loathing. Yeah, because that's a big part of when you know that there's things that you did like leading up to the event or the assault that could place blame on you. You feel that intensely. So any feelings of betrayal or violation are completely squashed by this feeling that you deserved what happened to you. You didn't. I promise you, you didn't. Secondly, your ability to trust, like I just said, one of the things that happened to me when I had not only my body violated, but my privacy violated by people who thought they were doing the right thing by telling others, it felt like I couldn't trust anyone. I mean, everybody turned on me. The situation just got really out of hand. And so my ability to trust not only myself, but others was jeopardized by the situation. And that sucks, because building trust with others is how we build healthy relationships. And if you feel like you can't trust yourself or others, then you end up trusting no one and living a life of really no holds bar on what goes, because it doesn't matter anyway, because no one's trustworthy and you're not trustworthy either. The third is an inability to self-regulate. So if you are the victim of a trauma where, and I mean this goes for anyone who's a victim of a trauma or assault of any sort, whether or not you felt like a perfect victim or not, it's an inability to self-regulate. And this is just a trauma response, is that when your nervous system is overrun with adrenaline and cortisol and these fight or flight hormones, your body gets out of whack and it's unable to process information in a way that makes sense. So a small little threat or discomfort can throw you into a complete tailspin. An event that makes it necessary for your body to go into the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight and flight response, that's natural. That should happen. It's supposed to happen when bad things are going on. But the difference is when a person is traumatized, that cycle is stopped. So usually you would go into sympathetic nervous system, and then you would cycle around into the action of getting away from the threat that is coming towards you. And that threat, say in the wild, would be a tiger coming after you, and you sense it and your body responds either by freezing and you're waiting for the tiger to go by, or you run, you get out of there, or you fight, which I don't suggest fighting a tiger, but you get out of there. If you survive the attack, your body, in a healthy process of action, goes into a release of tension. So either by trembling, shaking, or finishing that cycle by running away from the threat and then finding yourself in a safer position and knowing that your efforts and your body's ability to move from the threat into a place of safety has completed its cycle and it's completed it successfully. And so you get away, all that energy is shaking off of you. We see this in the wild. If you've ever picked up an animal that has fallen from a tree, say you have a bird or something, or your dog is scared of something, its body is shaking. So like if there's thunder and lightning and your dog's afraid of that, they can start to shake. It's very natural. It's moving through that system of reaction, which again, is not bad. Like, we don't want to move into a place where we never feel our body again. That is actually something that can happen if we're not healthy. So moving through that gives us the ability to self-regulate. However, in traumatized people, that system is stopped in its tracks. So you are actually, if you were assaulted by someone and you weren't able to get away from them, or you told yourself, I'll freeze and maybe this will stop, and it doesn't stop, and the event continues to happen, then your system gets whacked. It gets all whacked out, because then it stores that tension within it rather than releasing it through trembling, running away, or fighting, which would give you that release, that feeling of control. Okay, my system is working for me. I'm getting out of here. I'm making the moves to keep myself safe. And I did it. I got away. When you're not able to do that, that's when you become traumatized. That is actually a definition of trauma, when no outside force or self-care or self-protection is able to work in keeping you safe, then the body system stops in its tracks and you become traumatized. So in future circumstances, your body being not regulated correctly, even hormonally, when something is introduced, a threat is introduced to you, even if it's the smallest thing, your body is wondering if this is the same threat that it didn't get to finish processing. So it starts these massive hormonal jumps, just like what happened initially when you had first experienced that event. And so your body is just asking to finish that cycle. But then your mind says, nothing bad is happening, I need to calm down, I need to calm down. And now you are the one keeping yourself kind of diminished, smaller, not able to finish that cycle, because you're saying, this doesn't make sense, I am freaking out over nothing. And other people could also be telling you, you're freaking out over nothing. When the truth is you're not freaking out over nothing. Your body is trying to finish a cycle. Kind of the downstream effects of that, so kind of underneath of the inability to self-regulate, you might experience fits of rage, bouts of extreme sadness, or irrational fears and anxiety. And all those things are completely natural in a person who has been traumatized and unable to move through their natural systems. So it's okay. Number 4 of the trauma responses is reenacting the trauma. And this can oftentimes, all of these obviously piggyback off of one another, but this can be in hopes of coming up with a different result. You can find yourself reenacting that again and again and again, looking for a different result. And that's not uncommon. Again, this is something that you can find more information about in Waking the Tiger or The Body Keeps the Score. And I'll put some links below to some of these resources that have been so helpful to me. So number 5 is codependence or overdependence. If you have been traumatized and you feel like it was your fault and that you're not great, you can many times find someone that you think is either similar to your abuser, which is part of reenactment, or someone that you think is better than you and can somehow uplift you and make you better by you being around them. And that can turn into a codependent relationship. You can also find yourself in circumstances where you're attaching yourself to people that you find similar to you, so that you feel like you're in good company. So you find people that have also messed up and done things that are deemed bad things, And you can say, this is the person that I deserve to be with because they are like me. And then you can become very attached to them and the outcome of their life because you want to see them either succeed or, just survive. You're fascinated by the fact that this person is like you and it makes you feel not so alone. I'll bring it up because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. This is very much like Frodo's relationship to Smeagol / Gollum. And Sam kind of has this in the films. Again, books, films, different, I will say. But right now, I'm referring to the films. That in the film, Frodo has this moment with Sam, as Sam is saying, why are you not getting rid of this guy? Like, what is wrong with you? Why do you want to keep him around? And Frodo says, because I need to believe he can come back. And I think a lot of times that is how we feel when we are finding people to surround ourselves with, when we feel like we're drowning and we're not able to survive. A lot of times we'll find like-minded, experienced people and either dig our heels in and say this is what we are, or you try and save them, which in turn feels like saving yourself because you see yourself in them. So that's our overdependence and codependence step. You can also have, like I said, the step number 2 is the inability to trust others. So both of those things can exist at the same time or separately. You could just be someone that doesn't trust anyone, and so you refuse to enter into a relationship with people. But oftentimes in codependent relationships, there is a distrust, even though you are saying that you are attached to this person, there still is a fear that that person is going to fail you, which can create really unhealthy patterns in relationships. And number 6. Number 6 is a disconnect to the body. Of course, as a yoga teacher and a practitioner of trauma-informed yoga, this is one that I deal with on a very intimate level, is trying to help people reconnect to their body. And I do believe it is one of the ways in which you can address all of the other 5 side effects of being a traumatized person with a feeling of having deserved what happened to you, of being an imperfect survivor. And when that happens, if the trauma was done to the body, many times we can actually have a disconnect where we don't feel our body, where we can have numbness in different areas, because our mind and body do try and protect us still. Even if our regulation is completely off, it can still be trying to search into itself, like how to keep you safe. And so that's why it's so important for us to address ourselves with love and care. And there's a lot of, talk about bringing the body into submission or bringing the body into our control, when I don't really think it's necessarily control, but it is communion and companionship. So in the next couple videos, instead of me sitting here talking, we're going to just do some little yoga flows to reconnect to our body. They're really simple because, of course, I don't teach yoga as a athletic sport. It's really about a mind-body connection. I really am excited to share with you how I use the asana practice, how I use the movement practice to heal from trauma, and how to move through the cycles of threat response is probably the best way to put it. So getting to know your body, getting to reconnect to your body is crucial when it comes to building a healthy and whole, healed self. Okay, I think that's it. I don't know, I might have rambled some. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I would love to hear from you, and hear how you're doing on your healing journey and share with you more about my own process and the different ways that I've been able to feel like I have some say and some agency over my life and personhood. Okay, that's it. I love you guys. Namaste.